So obviously help yourselves to the water in front of you, furnished by the table restaurant. Should we start? Okay, let's start.
Yes.
Let's start. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
I like to start. I'm all anxious. So everyone, I just want to welcome you to the table. I'm Chef Sanchez. This is our second Masterclass. First was with my mentor, Chef John Paul. And so now I'm going to follow in his footsteps. You know, hopefully I'll do a good job. So what we're going to do today, you guys have y'all have menus in front of you and recipes. Feel free to follow along, but I would definitely say pay attention to what I'm doing up here, also, because you might learn little tricks, little tips. Certainly, you're more than welcome at any point in your career as a chef to replicate these recipes. But what I find with these kind of demonstrations is that what you really get out of it are these little things that sort of help you in the kitchen at home. Because you're not going to make fava bean falafel every day, right? But it's the technique that helps us, I think, grow as cooks. So first I'll just kind of talk about how I set my station up at home. I think it's really important to have sort of an organized area when you're cooking. And it's not because I'm an eat freak, even though I am, right? But it's actually, it helps to sort of keep you focused. And staying clean and all that obviously helps with the cleanup at the end. Because when I was growing up and I was practicing at home, and my stepfather always used to say, "He who cooks cleans." So I learned very early on that if I didn't stay clean throughout, then I'd be up late doing all the dishes. So, anyways, it's just a good idea to kind of keep your station clean. It helps you stay organized, and it makes everything a lot easier. It's kind of easy to lose yourself when you're cooking, especially if you have like a lot of guests, and if you get really anxious. And then you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. It just helps at least to be clean, and then you can sort of calm yourself down. And that's what I tell all my cooks too. Is we get very busy here at the restaurant. We have a very small kitchen downstairs, but if they stay clean, it at least gives them some peace of mind. Okay, I might be yelling at them and throwing things at them, and orders might be coming in, but at least they have their cleanliness, right? So the first thing we're going to cook today is the fava bean falafel. Okay, so traditional falafel is sort of this Mediterranean fritter. They usually use chickpeas, fresh or dried. But I think fava bean has a very interesting texture and flavor. So we're gonna go into that in a little bit. Okay. Then we're gonna go into a crespel. Crespel is basically a crepe that's rolled into a nice little package and baked. Okay, and they serve it with tomato sauce. The great thing about it, again, I'm not necessarily teaching you guys things that you're going to go home and rush home and repeat, but little tricks and little sort of devices to deliver flavor. Okay, so a crespel, you can fill it with anything you want. Okay, if you want to fill it with ricotta cheese and spinach, you can. Anything you want, let your creativity sort of guide you, let your tastes guide you. But having a good recipe for the batter to make the crepe itself is very useful. Okay. And then we're going to finish off with a chocolate budino, which is one of our signature desserts here. And it's kind of just like a very silky, almost custard, almost pudding, but it's really great. And what's really cool about it is that it looks really impressive, but it's super easy. Okay, so it's easy on the work, but then really great in the payoff at the end. And what I like about it, and the reason I've chose to teach you about it, is because you're going to learn two really great techniques. Okay, you're going to learn how to make a creme anglaise, which is the most versatile sauce in pastry. Okay, you can put that into an ice cream machine, and now it's what? Vanilla ice cream. Okay, or you can use it as a sauce for any pie, any cake, anything like that. So it's really, really cool. And then the other thing is how to make a ganache. Okay, a chocolate ganache is basically chocolate with cream. Okay, and the only thing that matters is the proportion of chocolate to cream. And once you have that right, you can make anything from chocolate truffles to chocolate sauce, chocolate dip to chocolate cake, chocolate tart. Okay, it's really versatile. So again, you may not make budino, but you may make creme anglaise, vanilla sauce, or you may make vanilla ice cream, or you may make chocolate cake, or you may want to dip some kind of a fritter in a chocolate sauce. So you're not just getting 3 recipes that you have to follow. You're going to get a whole lot of information today. So you got pencils. Take notes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll make this falafel. And please, really informal at any time. If you have any questions, interrupt me. Okay, if it looks like I'm going to hurt myself by sticking my hand in this machine, tell me, okay, because I'm pretty clumsy. All right, so this machine is something fancy. It's sort of like the Bentley of kitchen devices. I love it. It does everything. It's a chopper, okay? But you don't need it to make this. I'm just for the ease of this demonstration, I'm using it. But you can use anything from a hand blender, which we have here, which I think is a little bit more common at home, okay? Probably most of you have one of these, or have seen one, okay? And you can just put all the ingredients in a jug and, you know, mash it up. Otherwise, you can chop it, you know, which takes a little bit more effort. If you have a mortar and pestle, which I don't know what they're called, but they seem to be very common. You just put everything in there and mush it up, okay? But this is what we use here because I feel like I get a little bit more consistency.
Is that a magic Vitamix?
I'm sorry?
What is the brand name of that?
This is a Robocoup.
Robocoup.
Yeah, but you can get what they call Cuisinart, I think is another pretty common one. KitchenAid, you know, so you have every major appliance brand makes some form of this, you know, it's called a food processor, okay? And it processes things into little bits, which is sort of our goal here today. So, as I said, we're going to talk about the ingredients for this dish, okay? First, the major component is fava beans, okay? And you can all, I think, hopefully you can see on the camera, if we get a little zoom action, okay? Fava beans, they have this wonderful, almost nutty flavor to them, okay? They're a broad bean, okay, and this is in its natural form, okay? So it's a very soft, very chewy exterior that you don't eat, and then you pop these open, okay? And then inside you have another pod, okay? So you blanch this thing, if you can see a little zoom action, okay? If you can see, if you blanch this for about 15 seconds, 20 seconds in boiling salted water, the skin comes off really easy. Okay? So it's a little tedious, all right, but it's, for me, worth the payoff. Now, the other option is frozen peas. Okay? Which I don't use a lot of frozen products, but frozen peas are actually frozen when they're fresh, when they're in season, when they have great flavor, and they preserve very well in the freezer. So it's not a bad option. It's not something that you have to, you know, bow your head in shame about. Okay? And we actually do use peas in this recipe. We use fresh peas, but we use peas in this recipe because they have some sweetness. And the fava bean has a little bit of bitterness. And so it helps balance the dish really nicely. Okay? The other option is you could use dried chickpeas that had been soaked in water overnight. Okay, and you can use the same measurement. Here we're using 2 cups of fava beans. You could use 2 cups of soaked chickpeas. All right? So those go into the food processor. All right. And then, like I said, we have the peas. Okay, and just going back to what I said earlier, you could use papri, right? You could do that as well. Then I got the peas, butter. We blanch these, okay? Now I like to cook them so they have a little texture because we're going to cook them again in the fryer when we cook these, okay? So the idea is when the fritter is cooked, you have texture. It's not like baby food that has a crispy outside. It has lots of great texture, okay? On your recipes, okay, I make things sort of very straightforward, okay? And typically in the ingredients, I don't just list the quantity of that ingredient, but what step that ingredient needs to be taken to. For example, fava beans, peeled, blanched, ready to go, okay? That we call mise en place, okay? Mise en place is life in the kitchen. So as organized as you can be before doing this, as you can see, my lovely assistants have done everything for me. Guys, why don't you come out here? Let's give them a round of applause. Come on out here, guys. Come on. Okay. These are the guys that actually make stuff happen. Okay, I'm just the ugly face that's representing it all. Okay, but the idea is you get everything ready. Okay, all the spices are ground and toasted. Everything is chopped, so that when you go to make it, you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You're ready to go. Okay. Again, it may seem like you're doing a little bit more work. But then when you see the finished product and how easy it was, it makes all the difference in the world. Okay. So then we have all the delicious herbs. Okay, we have parsley. Okay, let's get some zoom. Yeah. Okay, parsley, dill, lots of dill. Okay, dill for me makes this. Okay, and that all goes in. Okay, herbs are all about freshness. Okay, scallion, which is an herb, mint. And then we give it a little kick with the spices. All right, we have coriander and cumin. You know what's kind of interesting is back home, if I was giving a demonstration, I would say make sure you toast your spices before you grind them. But here it's like intuition, right? So you guys all know that. So we got cumin and coriander, okay, and just a little chili flake. So it's not spicy. Of course, if that's your preference, you can do whatever you want. Okay, there are no rules here, but this is how we do it here. Okay, chili flake, just a little bit. Okay, and the idea is that it gives you a little bit more of an interesting feel in the mouth, but not so much that you're like, blowing smoke rings. And then a little garlic paste. Okay, so you just rub a little salt on it, which helps grate it, and then you just smash it with the back of the knife, or you can use the back of a spoon or anything like that. Okay. Okay, so again, I'm cleaning as I go, and my station is clean. I know it's looking a bit easier, right, because everything's all nicely put in their little ramekins and all that. But really, if I was doing this and I was in a busy kitchen anyways, this is how I would work, because it really makes all the difference. I have my tasting spoons ready in clean water. I have salt, pepper, and olive oil at my disposal, right? Because I'm always going to use that for pretty much everything. So, whether you have a little box of masalas or whatever it is that you cook often, it's just great to have your little workspace. You feel like you're like a pilot or something. It just makes you feel cozy. At least it makes me feel cozy. Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yeah, please.
You've written here in the recipe that the fava beans and the peas should be really dry. So is it
right.
You just air dry them, or
yeah? So depending on how far in advance you're going to prep this, that's thank you for bringing that up. Moisture is kind of the enemy here, because you want this to stick together into a patty. Okay, and the only way to do that if it's not dry is to add flour. But to me, flour has no flavor. And it also lends a very gooey, sort of gummy texture once this is mixed. So the idea is we have to avoid that step. So you dry it either on a kitchen towel, dry it in a colander, and then leave it in the refrigerator overnight. Whatever's most convenient for you, paper towels, whatever. But get them good and dry. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Okay. Just sort of a... You can't really see, so you're gonna have to trust me on this one. Okay. So a couple pulses. Don't pour yourself a cup of tea and go into the next room and talk on the phone to your mom for like an hour or something like that. Okay. Just a couple pulses. We want texture. Okay. We don't want this to be puree. And what's going to happen, okay, is over time the starches in the fava beans are going to come out, and the starch is what helps bind together, okay? Flour or maida is pure starch, okay? So we're going to rely on the natural starches to bind this. Okay, so it's not quite there. I'll show you the end result. But at this point, I'll definitely add some salt, a generous amount, okay, and some pepper. Fresh pepper is really the only way for me. If you grind pepper once a year, like some people, get out of that habit. It's a bad habit. Okay. So what's happening is, as this blade is going around, the ingredients are sort of going up the side, right? And as it starts to stick to the side, I know that there's some stickiness going on, which means I'll be able to form it into a patty. So I'll just show you guys. You can see. Okay, so there's some chunks in there. Okay, it's not completely smooth, but it is fine enough to where it's going to bind. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, and it smells incredible. I mean, I'm just getting dill, a little garlic. It's phenomenal. Okay, and you all have a chance. Okay, I'm not just doing this to make you feel bad. Okay. All right. So this is actually really how we do it. We're going to use this in the restaurant. See, okay, this is not just like play food here. All right. So I promise you, you're learning all the inside tips. Okay. Okay. Can I give this to you? Okay. So then I put on gloves. I typically use plastic gloves for a lot of things. I don't like washing my hands because for all the things. I mean, I obviously wash my hands, but I don't like doing it all day long because my hands get really dry and raisiny. So typically for any time that I can use the gloves, I do. And then I feel like a doctor, which makes me feel more accomplished than I really am. Okay. It's good to have some trays. We have these really great trays that we had manufactured for us. They're like 10 rupees a piece, but you know, any little tray is always kind of convenient. I love it. Okay. Because otherwise, you're going to have all these little small things, and you got like these big trays, and you're just going to be driving yourself crazy trying to find space for everything. Okay, so we'll give it a quick taste. What we would do normally is probably make a small tester, fry it, and see how it is, because your perception of salt, which is to me seasoning, is different for hot and cold. So something that's cold needs more salt to have the appearance of being well seasoned, whereas something that's hot actually carries the salt easier. But I have impeccable taste buds, so I can just tell that. Okay, maybe a little bit more salt. Okay. And I can see it sticking together really nicely, like just kind of when I push it around. You can go full zoom, bud. Okay. And then just a little water, a little dab, and then it won't stick to your hands. Okay? And that actually is the same for anything. You're making meat patties at home, meatballs, anything, you know, pakori kebabs, which I love. Okay? And then just kind of compact a little bit. And then you're going to make it into a cool little cake, any size you want. So if you're doing canapes, you know, little hors d'oeuvres, then you want it to be bite-sized. All right, if you're doing something like what we do here, then maybe you want it a little bigger. Okay? They don't have to be perfect, but I'm like a total, you know, anal retentive, obsessive, compulsive freak. So then I would make it like really perfect. But then you see, we've got this beautiful little disc. Okay? Can we get a little close-up on that, please? Are we seeing that?
That's
Hey.
perfect. It's like it was made by a machine.
Thank you. Thank you. So, can we fry 2 pieces? Or you want to just fry this piece? Just fry this, okay? Thanks. You know, I feel like sometimes, you know, for me, my background, I worked in some really great restaurants in the States. And, you know, the more technique that you learn and the better the restaurant you go to work at, so the more strict everything becomes. But I do feel that these techniques actually free you up a little bit. So, on one hand, it seems very sort of rigid, you know, keep your station clean. But then the product is really incredible. You know, the end product is so much more enhanced by that. So don't be afraid to, you know, be a little rigid sometimes. I mean, you know, it's fun, right? It's always fun, especially if you have people over. I mean, this would be fantastic. You know, make this, and then say, everyone, come into the kitchen. We're making falafel. Get your butt in here, you know. And then, you know, you can have a little party around that. I mean, these things are great. I mean, obviously, the other side of that is you just have everything ready beforehand, and then, you know, fry it fresh when people come. But it's just something to think about. My man, thank you. Okay, falafel. So as that's cooking, we're going to get a couple other things ready. Okay, I'm just going to sort of assemble this as I would sort of at the restaurant. Okay, so we have a nice little plate. I always have a little towel, kind of like on the side here. I have my big towel for like grabbing things out of the oven, and I have a little towel for just kind of tidying up. Okay, yes, neat freak. Okay. But again, I don't want to have to clean up a big mess at the end. I'd rather clean up little messes as I go. Okay? Nice to have to seeing a whole new side of me. Chef is really kind of nuts. Okay. So I have this lemon yogurt. Okay, this is nothing more than curd that's been strained. Okay? A little lemon juice, a little lemon zest, a little salt. You could use plain curd. Okay? But I just like lemon. Lemon kind of plays into that sort of Mediterranean thing. Sorry, 1 second here. Hey guys, I need to Can you give me a scissor or just cut this open for me? Thanks. Okay. So we have the lemon yogurt, okay, and then we have some oven-dried tomato, okay. So it's just a tomato that's been cut in half, seeds removed, and then a little olive oil, maybe some garlic, thyme, salt, okay. You put it in a really slow oven, super slow, okay, 7 hours, 8 hours, okay, maybe like 70 or 80 degrees, okay. And it doesn't really cook it. You can see it's still got a lot of texture to it. It just concentrates the flavor. Because what I've found is that a lot of the tomatoes here don't have a ton of flavor. And it's kind of the same in the States. Thanks a lot, Louis. So what we do to enhance the natural tomatoiness of tomato is we just evaporate the water, basically. Because water has no flavor. Okay. Then we've got some white onion that's just been cut into rings, grilled, has a little crunch to it. Okay. And then cucumber. So the cucumber, I love grilled cucumber, but people think I'm a freak. This is my stove from home. You can see it's really clean because it never gets used. So this can all be done at home. So grilled cucumber is great. A little olive oil, okay? Or if you have a grill, use it on the grill itself, you know. But anything. I don't have a grill right now. I apologize. Okay, let that get a little hot. There are two sides of the story here when cooking with olive oil. Okay, some people say, you know, why do you cook with olive oil? You know, all the flavor is gone when you use it. It's more expensive. Why don't you just use salad oil? Which you could do, because salad oil has a higher smoking point. So you never deep fry really with olive oil. It's kind of useless. But there's just something about cooking with olive oil. I don't know if it's just romantic, but there's something about cooking with olive oil that I really enjoy. So that's what I do. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to get a little color on this. I don't even know if this is hot enough. I think this is hot enough. Yeah, okay, good. With anything, season with salt. I only season with pepper when I want pepper flavor. Okay? So when I'm talking about seasoning, I'm talking about salt. Because salt brings out natural flavors. Pepper adds a flavor. You guys get that? It's kind of, when I was starting as a young kid, my chefs always said, season with salt and pepper, season with salt and pepper. And as I sort of grew up, I realized, well, hey, seasoning, yeah, that's salt, but pepper adds pepper flavor. So maybe I don't want pepper flavor, or maybe I don't want those little specks of black in my food, or whatever it is, right? So just, you know, I guess have a little intention when you're cooking, okay? Okay, we'll fry these a little bit more. Okay, what this does also is it takes away a little bitterness, because you can never really be too sure with cucumbers until you bite into them. So you know, unfortunately, you can't go around the supermarket biting into things, which would be pretty cool. But you can't. So this is sort of a guaranteed way to make sure your cucumber does not have bitterness, okay, by cooking it a little bit. And it brings out a lot of really great flavor too. Okay, cool. So now we're getting just a little bit of brown. This is called a mini offset spatula. I love these things for just about everything. Okay, I've seasoned it with salt. Okay, and that's for me more than enough. My aunt, by the way, hates when I come to her house to cook, because if you can see all these little splatters, she calls me Splatters McGee, because all I do is I create a mess for her. But she loves the food. Can you get another GN pen for me so I can put some of these things in there? Okay. So what I'll do first is I'll put down a little dab of this, can you see? How's that? Okay, cool. So I'll put down a little dab of the yogurt, okay? And then I'll put cucumber in there. It kind of acts as like a glue. I can do anything I like. Can you guys see this okay? Okay, just tell me if you can, all right? I'm here for you. Okay, so then I'll put down maybe one of those, and then I'll put like a guy up here. Okay, when we plate things, it's all very free form. You know, I don't like food that looks like it's been touched and it looks like a clock in this. And when my guys do that, I have like panic attacks because it's just not my style. Okay, then I'll take this, the tomato and the onion here. You see that coming in there? Cool, right? Just a little olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, salt. Okay, pepper. You can use your hands. I like using spoons.